Bringing in a suggestion of the form. Rib cages are real easy to draw. Break up the tone again. Put the edge of the rib. And now I'm going to go back in with my fine line, put in some more information. This line I put across here is not for form. This is like pigmentation on this dinosaur. A lot of speculation as to what dinosaur skin textures were like, what kind of patterns they might have on them. And when I was a kid, they tended to draw them as just dull green or gray skinned creatures, and since the work of paleontologists like Robert Backer, there's been a lot more adventurous reconstructions of dinosaurs having skin patterns more like birds and more exotic reptiles. So there's a little more room for play these days with coming up with skin patterns and textures. Okay, no drawing is done until there's a couple flies in it. Well, given this subject matter, not all drawings. Covered bridges, not as many flies, but. Voila! Uno dinosaur.
And you always sign, right?
Always sign, and always make sure you put your copyright to it. Especially when you're on television. All right, now, let's do how to draw a zombie. This all teenagers want to know how to draw a zombie. So here's a finished zombie sketch. Everyone is different, but I figured I'd start by showing a finished product first, and then jumping in and starting from scratch. So, clear sheet of paper. This does require a certain knowledge of and comfort level with drawing human anatomy, because basically what you're doing is drawing a really ramshackle human being and taking away most of their flesh. So, if your muscular system is gone or failing, you're going to get some pretty strange body positions. So I usually start by kind of loosely sketching out some kind of wonky pose. And in this case, that's the rib cage there. This poor guy's neck muscles are gone. He's going to have his head kind of laying sideways on his chest. It's tough being a zombie. Okay. And we'll go with the traditional zombie graveyard kind of thing. So I'll kind of loosely sketch in a stone here. All right, as with the last drawing, because I do have a picture in my head of what I'm seeing here, I'm going to jump right in with some Sharpie and just lay in some of the key characteristics. Here's this poor fellow's shoulder, upper arm bone,
Now, would you typically use a Sharpie at like convention stuff?
yeah, this would be convention work. If I were doing this for pro work, let's say this was an illustration for a publisher or a book project of some kind, I would not be using Sharpies. I'd be using brush, pen, and ink, which I'll be doing with one of the later demos today. And since this is a family network, I won't get too gruesome in the intestinal department. So the Sharpies and these kind of El Marcos, you know, the heavy black markers and so on, is something I've grown comfortable with because of the amount of drawing I've done over the years at conventions and so on. And I have found it's always good to have a little eye contact with whoever it is looking at the drawing. Just kind of brings the drawing to life. This is a little bit of the rib cage you can see through the back. And I'll have a lot of turned up dirt, so it looks like this fella is fresh out of the ground. Since we do have a gravestone expert in the room, I'll not get into too much detail with that, because I'll probably get it wrong. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with my heavier black marker and pick out some areas I'm going to lay in some heavier black. What I'm doing here is picking out the black areas that would be between the ribs, around the eye socket. Using black around the eye socket is one of the things that helps make that one of the points of interest for the viewer. I want your eye to go there. And framing that in black helps sort of spotlight that right off. And again, I'm working pretty loose at this stage. Because I do have a pretty clear picture in my head of what I'm drawing, but part of it too is the fun of just sort of feeling out the forms and not worrying about making mistakes. Really horrible mistakes could destroy the drawing, but I think I've done enough of the underdrawing and have a clear enough picture in my head that I can go in with these stronger black lines, and if I get a line a little bit off, I can turn it into a piece of rotten meat.
So you start with the little form idea?
No. I'll usually start a sketch just with the subject, but I would not use the word well-formed. A malformed idea, perhaps. But, and then I kind of feel my way around. Like I had an idea of how I was going to have the legs with the knees kind of together, but I didn't really have, plotted out in my head the amount of detail on the feet and so on. That's the stuff I kind of